Pink
What is it?
pink cocaine, or 2CB as it's called, it doesn't even have any coke in it. It's a combination of MDMA, ketamine, and something else I can't remember. But it hasn't actually got any cocaine in. And I understand it was something that was in Liam Payne's toxicology that he took for his death. I will say so. I'll go back. I'll keep going back to the cocaine issue. So cocaine and alcohol, particularly, is a really strong substance. When they're mixed together on the up, it's fantastic. But when it's coming down, so the other thing about cocaine is that people feel, because the initial rush is so wonderful, a lot of the time that people keep sniffing, because it only lasts about 10-20 minutes, people keep sniffing to try and get the high, and they'll never get it again because it's started blocking it blocks the reuptake inhibitors. So nobody's going to feel that amount of high until they've actually had a massive break from it. So people that are constantly sniffing to try and get that high, it gives them a bit of a lift, but not the same. When they start coming down, and it can happen really, really quickly, sort of in the last, it can happen in the last hour, that they start to feel this overwhelming, what we believe is a psychosis. We believe that there's a psychosis that happens that makes somebody overwhelmingly feel shame, that they can't take it anymore, that they feel as if they're going to end their life, that they just need to get themselves out of this thing. And this is where we're finding people are trying to take their lives. Now, what we think happened with Liam Payne, because there was stuff in his toxicology that came up on his initial tox. They said there was cocaine and alcohol. There was other things as well. But he displayed what's called an excited delirium before he died. Now, that's where they get really aggravated and a bit violent and a bit, messy. If you look up the details of DJ Kamal Edwards's untimely death, he had an excited delirium before he died, and he had a massive heart.
What's an excited delirium?
So an excited delirium, in the US they call it an excited delirium. In the UK they call it an acute behavioural disturbance. And what it is, it's like this phenomenon that happens, and it's more prevalent with cocaine and alcohol. So on the come down from cocaine and alcohol, because what cocaine actually does, it actually narrows the arteries. So I don't know what happened to Darius Danash, actually. I've not looked into it.
Was it drug related, that?
I don't know. We'll have to have a look. But yeah, so yeah, it actually restricts the arteries. So what actually can happen? It can inflate the heart. So often what you see, if they don't die from their own hand, they could die of like a heart arrhythmia, which is what DJ Kamal Edwards died of. And I think if we were to see a proper inquest on Liam Payne, which I know is dreadful, but I think that he probably would have had an enlarged heart, because it's symptomatic of the same thing that DJ Kamal Edwards was saying, and the research that is around that actual type of death. So
can we take a few minutes to talk about what you know about Liam Payne, or what your opinions are on what may have happened?
I do not know anything other than what's been on the internet.
Well, I know that I've not looked into much of it, but I know it's quite.
That he was displaying, violent behaviour. He was smashing things up, and he was not in his right mind before he died, which is evident from the photos. I think his death will be ruled as a accident. there's no way to prove that he meant to go off
yeah.
go off the balcony. It's just absolutely, just so sad. Just
What
so
would make
sad.
somebody fall? Like, do you know about obviously, how do you fall off a balcony? Like,
Well,
do you
if
know what I
you're
mean? Like,
upset, I mean, if you're upset and you're flaying about and you're aggravated. I mean, if this excited delirium, when this takes over, it's a real agitated state they're in. They're not in a normal state of mind. For him to be bashing the telly and there was a scuffle in the downstairs.
mm.
He wouldn't have known what had happened, and it could have been a scuffle. It could have been a scuffle near the window or whatever. If he really did fall, or they're never going to be able to prove it unless somebody was actually in the room with him.
See, I thought so. Looking at Liam Payne over the years, in my opinion, with his interviews and stuff like that, he's always struck me as someone that suffers from some kind of mental health disorder. Now, with someone that's got ADHD and OCD, I'm kind of hypersensitive to noticing mental health disorders in people. And with his interviews and stuff, and the way that some of the things that he said, and the way that he said it, and even if you like look at his eyes, and you can tell a lot from the eyes, can't you? I always felt that he wasn't very happy as a person, and there were signs that he wasn't mentally well, basically, and he did suffer. So I actually thought that he did end it himself, but then there's things come out saying that he fell. There's even darker conspiracies saying that it was worse than that. You know
I
what I
think.
mean? That
Well, there's always
he
going
was
to be
helped.
conspiracy theories. Nobody's ever going to know, and the only person will know whoever was in the room with him that day, really. But what I can say with some sort of, you know, what I can say with some sort of authority is the fact that when cocaine and alcohol and any other drugs are in the mix, anything could happen. You're not in your right
Mm,
mind. Where there's drug use, and until there's full toxicology and full um, pathology done, then it's all here and there, with all these things. But I think if what has been seen, so what has been proven already is the fact that there was cocaine and alcohol, there was probably pink cocaine, there was probably a lot of other things. I think there was benzos in there as well, I understand. That is
mm.
enough of a cocktail to have caused him to have some sort of psychotic episode, which I think is evident in all the smashed up stuff.
Yeah.
And who's to know how he came off that balcony? Nobody will ever know, and it's actually pointless. It's just we've just got to accept that this has happened. This is an absolute tragedy that's happened to a young man that his shouldn't have left his parents or his son without him. It's all preventable. For whatever reason somebody takes any substance.
He's only 31. I wonder
Um,
if Liam Payne reached out to anybody. Has that come out? Because I've not done much on Liam Payne. Do you know if anything's come out in the media about if he reached out to anyone about any issues? Because
I
I
don't.
just don't really
I
know.
think possibly he was in the depths of addiction or substance that he probably wasn't aware that he needed the help at that time.
There's
Maybe
also a possibility that maybe he didn't want to speak to anybody because
of his
shame that he's in
status.
the limelight, famous.
Well, there's all that as well. I mean, how do you know that? I mean, one of the and this will go to the next one. So, if you're struggling with suicidal feelings, then get in touch with Samaritans, Papyrus. There's loads of groups that can help. There's lots of man's groups that can help. There's Mind online. They help with things. There's loads of helplines available. But yeah, somebody famous, I think it'd be really tough for them to not feel as if they're going to be recognized. I think that it must be so isolating. It must have been so isolating for him to be going through whatever he was going through.
I think that he probably thought that, like, if so, like the normal person, like the non celebrity, if you've got problems, you can go to your doctor, or you can speak to friends or family or whoever. I think someone with such high status as Liam Payne did, arguably one of the biggest boy bands of all time, to be going through what he went through. Maybe it is. Maybe like you feel like you can't speak to someone because the next day, bang, in the papers, Liam
Yeah.
Payne addicted to cocaine, Liam Payne taking ketamine, Liam Payne,
Well, I think
whatever it was.
I think one of the problems that we've got with what we're doing, a lot of people don't want to admit cocaine use, and a lot of celebrities, when they say they've had addiction issues, that it is probably
Yeah.
cocaine, and they just can't talk about it because they would get shot down in flames. They'd be judged by everybody that there is. So people don't tend to admit that they've had a problem with the cocaine, but we know it's there.